everyone. Let's see if I can get her to come up today. It's wanting me to do log in again, and I'm already logged in to other things, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. So it's a bit different today. With and spent time with my parents. That was a good visit. It was just me. After a while, my sister went home, and I stayed and visited for a little bit. It's always good to have that little bit of one-on-one time with your parents. So, and I'm trying to get my oldest son to go and hang out with me for a day, just him and I, because we don't get to do that very often. He's always busy. Anyways, today is Sunday, AA day. I'm late today because of visiting with family members. So, anyway. So if you're new here, welcome. Um, Thank you for coming. Um, if you're watching the replay, I do Tuesday AA and Sunday AA, normally at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Um, but today, like I said, it's late because I went to visit family. So, anyways, please be kind. Don't be judging other people. If they're in the chat, that doesn't make them the alcoholic. Um, I know I've had problems with some people going to other people's email link or whatever on here and going and accusing them of being an alcoholic. That is not always the case. So, just so you know. But there's no judgment here. We are all alcoholics or addicts, recovering addicts, um, whatever you decide to use the AA for, it has a multi-purpose for everyone in life, for anything. After all, I quit drinking 9.5 years ago, well, a little over that. And I just quit smoking almost 6 months ago, and I use my AA for that every day. Yes, I do have cravings for a cigarette, but I'm also reminding myself why I quit. So when you quit something, that's what you need to do. Is to remind yourself why. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get the meeting going. Um, just like I said, be kind and be respectful of each other. Hi, Lily. I tried to send a email, but it wants me to log back in, and I'm already logged in, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. But let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and get into the meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I also post on my about the video in the description, it will have the book we're reading, the chapter we're reading, or story, whichever it is, and the page number. So if you get confused, you can refer back to that and it will tell you. If you don't have a book, don't worry, I'm going to read it anyway. And thank you for being here. So, 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends with them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Put this book down. Grab the other book. And we are on chapter 4 of the big book, We Agnostics, and page 44. In the preceding chapters, you will have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible. But to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic or the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half our original fellowship were of exactly that type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we might find a spiritual basis of life, or else. Perhaps it is going to be that way with you. But cheer up. Something like half of us thought we were atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows that you need not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophy did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We would wish to be normal. We could wish to be philosophically, I don't know those long words, comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live. At, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves. Obviously, but where and how were we to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And it means, of course, that we are going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times we talk to a new man and watch his hope rise as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God. For we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. We know how he feels. We have shared his honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious. To others, the word God brought up a particular idea of him with which someone had tried to impress him during childhood. Perhaps we rejected this particular conception because it seemed inadequate. With that rejection, we imagined we had abandoned the God idea entirely. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power beyond ourselves was somewhat weak, even cowardly. We look upon this world of warring individuals, warring theological systems, and inexplainable calamity with deep skepticism. We look we looked at many individuals who claim to be godly. How could a supreme be, being have anything to do with it all? And who could comprehend a supreme being anyhow? Yet, in other moments, we found ourselves thinking, when enchanted by a starlit night, who then made all this? There was a feeling of awe and wonder, but it was fleeting and soon lost. Yes, we of agnostic temperament have had these thoughts and experiences. Let us make haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define our or comprehend that power which is God. Much to our relief, we discovered we had not been to consider another conception of God, our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with Him. As soon as we admitted the possible existence of a creative intelligence, a spirit of the universe underlying the totality of things, we began to be possessed of a new sense of power and direction. Provided we took other simple steps, we found that God does not make too hard terms with those we seek Him, or those who seek Him. To us, the realm of spiritual is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek. It is open, we believe, to all men and women. When therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. This applies to other spiritual expressions which you find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. At the start, this was all we needed to commence spiritual growth, to affect our first conscious relation with God as we understood Him. Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things, growth, but if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere. So we used our own conception, however limited it was. We needed to ask ourselves but one short question: do I now believe? Or am I even willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? With you. As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, which emphatically assured him that he is on his way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. That was great news to us, for we had assumed we could not make us a spiritual principle unless we accepted many things on faith which seemed difficult to believe. When people presented us with spiritual approaches, how frequently did we all say, I wish I had what that man had. I'm sure it would work if I could only believe as he believed. But I cannot accept as surely true the many articles of faith which are so plain to him. So it was comforting to learn that we could commence at a simpler level. Besides a seemingly inability to accept much of faith, we often found ourselves handicapped by obscenities, obstinacy, sensitiveness, and unreasoning prejudice. Many of us have been so touchy that even casual reference to spiritual things made us bristle with antagonism. This sort of thinking had to be abandoned, though some of us restricted We we found no great difficulty in casting aside such feelings. Faced with alcoholic destruction, we soon became as open-minded on spiritual matters as we had tried to be on other questions. In this respect, alcohol was a great persuader. It finally beat us into a state of reasonableness. Sometimes this was a tedious process. We hope no one else will be prejudiced for as long as some of us were. The reader may still ask why he should believe in a power greater than himself. We think there are good reasons. Let us have a look at some of them. The practical individual of today is a stickler for facts and results. Nevertheless, the 20th century readily accepts theories of all kinds, provided they are firmly grounded in fact. We have numerous theories, for example, about electricity. Everybody believes them without a murmur of doubt. Why this ready acceptance? Simply because it is impossible to explain what we see, feel, direct, and use without a reasonable assumption as a starting point. Everybody nowadays believes in scores of assumptions for which there is good evidence but no perfect visual proof. And does not science demonstrate that visual proof is the weakest proof? It is being constantly revealed as mankind studies the material world. That outward appearance are not inward reality at all. To illustrate, the prosthetic steel grinder is a mass of electrons whirling around each other at incredible speed. These tiny bodies are governed by precise laws, and these laws hold true throughout the material world. Science tells us so. We have no reason to doubt it. When, however, the perfectly logical assumption is suggested that underneath the material world and life as we see it, there is an all powerful, guiding, creative intelligence, right there our perseverance streak comes to the surface and we laboriously set out to convince ourselves it isn't so. We read wordy books and indulge in windy arguments, thinking we believe this universe needs no God to explain it. Where are where our contentions true, it would follow that life originated out of nothing, means nothing, and proceeds nowhere. Instead of regarding ourselves as intelligent agents, spearheads of God, ever advancing creation, we agnostics and atheists chose to believe that our human intelligence was the last word, the Alpha and the Omega, the, the beginning and end of all. Rather vain of us, wasn't it? We who have traveled this dubious path beg beg you to lay aside prejudice, even against organized religion. We have learned that whatever the human fra- frailties of various faiths may be, those faiths have given purpose and direction to millions. People of faith have a logical idea of what life is all about. Actually, we used to have no reasonable conception whatever. We used to amuse ourselves by cynically dissecting spiritual beliefs and practices when we might be observed that many spiritually minded persons of all races, colors, and creeds were demonstrating a degree of stability, happiness, and usefulness which we should have taught ourselves. These are long chapters, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to read. A few more minutes. Instead, we looked at the human defects of these people and sometimes used their shortcomings as a basis of wholesale condemn, condemnation. We talked of intolerance while we were intolerant ourselves. We missed the reality of the beauty of the forest because we were diverted by the ugliness of some of its trees. We never gave the spiritual side of life a fair hearing. In our personal stories, you will find a wide variation in the way each teller approaches and conceives of the power which is greater than himself. Whether we agree with a particular approach or conception seems to make little difference. Experience has taught us that these are matters about which, for our purpose, we need not be worried. They are questions for each individual to settle for himself. On one proposition, however, these men and women are strikingly agreed. Every one of them has gained access to, and believes in, a power greater than himself. This power has in each case accomplished the miraculous, the humanly impossible, as a celebrated American statesman put it. Let's look at the record. Here are thousands of men and women, worldly indeed. They flatly declared that since they have come to believe in a power greater than themselves, to take a certain attitude towards that power, and to do certain simple things, there has been a revolutionary change in their way of living and thinking. In the face of collapse and despair, in the face of the total failure of their human resources, they found that a new power, peace, happiness, and sense of direction flowered into them or flowed into them. This happened soon after they wholeheartedly met a few simple requirements. Once confused and baffled by the seeming brutality of existence, they show the underlying reasons why they were making heavy going of life, leaving aside the drink question. They tell why the living was so unsatisfactory. They show how the change came over them. When many hundreds of people are able to say that the consciousness of the presence of God is today the most important fact of their lives, they present a powerful reason why one should have faith. This world of ours has made more material progress in the last century than in all the millenniums which went before. Almost everyone knows the reason. Students of the ancient history tell us that the intellect of men in those days was equal to the best of today. Yet in ancient times, material progress was painfully slow. The spirit of modern scientific inquiry, research, and invention was almost unknown. In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by supersti- superstition, tradition, and all sorts of fixed ideas. Some of the contemporaries of Columbus thought a round earth pre- pre- preposterous. Others came near putting Galileo to death for his astronomical theories. We ask ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material? Even in the present century, Americans' newspapers were afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' first successful flight at Kitty Hawk. Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley fly machine go to the bottom of the Potomac River? Was it not true that the best mathematical minds had proved man could never fly? Had not people said God had reserved the privilege to the birds? Only 30 years later, the conquest of the air was almost an old story, and airplane travel was in full swing. But in the most fields of generation has witnessed complete liberation of our thinking. Show any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of a rocket, and he will say, I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either. Is not our age characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new? By the complete readiness with which we throw away the theory or gadget which does not work for something new which does? I'm going to stop here. I mean, yeah, I had all those thoughts too. I was like, nah, I tried the church thing, I tried this, I tried that, I prayed for this, I prayed for that. But then I got into the AA. And AA taught me that, yeah, I only have to do a few steps in my daily life. I do them willingly. Now, before, not so much. I was like, there is no way that this is going to work. But, like I said, you just kind of put stuff over there, knock everything over. But something had to give. I wasn't going to continue to be strong and be sober on my own. I had already tried that. And I went back out. I didn't have a group of people that would completely understand me and that I would completely understand them with no problem. And that's the weird thing about AA. It taught me to share my story, not to worry about what other people think about my story because it's mine. I own it. That is something that I did, that I do every day. The fact that I am an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic, is never going to go away. Never. So don't go thinking that you're fine, you're cured, you can go and drink and you're going to be just fine. Just one drink. Don't do that. It's not worth it. I did it. I know it's not worth it. But I also can understand the other side because I did go back out. I was thinking those things. I I thought, okay, I didn't drink for a year. Let's go ahead and try one. That was a bad mistake because had I just stayed sober and maybe found AA that way, I would have been sober longer. But you come in your own time, and sometimes you don't make it. I know people that don't make it, that haven't made it. I can't judge them for that. That's theirs. You know, we can only pray that to our higher power that the people we know and love and care about can get there and can make it. And sometime, maybe they will. We can't force them to do it. We can't, you know, hold them hostage and make them go. That's just not possible. They have to make that choice on their own, and they have to do it for the right reasons. And I'm glad that I found it when I did, and I'm glad that my friend told me, hey, let's go to a meeting. We can meet here at a meeting. So I did that, and I'm so happy that I did because I get to share my sobriety journey with all of you and my family members and my friends and people I meet in person. I don't shy away from the fact that I am a recovering alcoholic because that's what I am, and I'm proud to be a recovering one and not drinking right now. And it's all because I opened my mind to a different thing, thinking that something has got to help me. It's not going to do it for itself. I need others to help me. I need to have something to hold on to and say, this is mine, and I worked really hard for it. And that is my sobriety. Sobriety is the hardest thing I've ever fought to keep. I have, I still have my struggles every now and then. Like, I'll think back to, oh, remember when I drank this? Uh, Now it might be a little funny, but then it wasn't. You know, because I was not a nice person. I was not. a, a very caring person because I was all in it for me and my alcohol. I was not happy unless if I had my alcohol. And you know what? I don't have to wake up that way. I don't have to be that way anymore because the drink is not me. The drink does not run me. I run me, and I have that higher power and the understanding that, yeah, you may not believe in God. That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to be leaning one way or the other. Just being there in a group setting with people talking about the same basic concepts and the same basic things and sharing a part of your life with someone and maybe finding somebody that you totally just get, latch onto that and know that this person is helping you get through this. And yes, I have a sponsor. I've actually had two, and they have helped me as well as the group. They're the ones that taught me that I could do this right here. I can do this. I have my platforms, and this is what I choose to use them for mostly. But it is something that means a lot to me is helping others and keeping sobriety. And I can do that all right here for free. After all, I got that gift for free. Being sober, having the knowledge to stay sober, the tools that I need to use on a daily basis to keep sober, and just having all the tools in my shed, in my tool group, that I'm going to need to protect me from going to that drink. I can't tell anybody else that they have to do that. I don't have to. I choose to. And that's the whole thing about it. You have to choose it. And you have to choose it for the right reasons. And that's some stuff that people don't get. They don't realize that they have to want it for a very selfish reason, and that's for yourself. Even if it's the only thing that you do for yourself, I can tell you it will make everything else a lot better. A lot better. I have my friends, I have my family, I have my sobriety, and that's good enough for me. I'm blessed to have the gift of being sober and staying sober in the fellowship that if I need to go to a meeting, I will go to a meeting. Even if it's not me doing a meeting, I will go to a meeting. If I'm struggling, darn sure I'm going to a meeting. So, I mean, we're going to get into the stories and stuff, and this is just the beginning of the book. And there's a lot that that you will get, like the aha moment. I had that, and I still have that because sometimes I'm in that funky mood, and I don't want to deal with anything, and then I'll read something in the book. I'll be like, oh yeah, duh. I mean, but you can't expect to be perfect. Nobody expects you to be the perfect person because nobody's perfect. I'm just saying that life sober, no matter what you've got going on, it's worth being sober. Always worth being sober. And I'm going to get the daily reflections up and we will go ahead and read that. And then you guys can enjoy your Sunday. I start my new job tomorrow. Woohoo. Kind of nervous. It is what it is. Hopefully it's better than the last ones I've had. Anyway, so today is August 4th, and Seed of Faith. And I read this one earlier. Faith, to be sure, is necessary, but faith alone can avail nothing. We can have faith, yet keep God out of our lives. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 34. As a child, I constantly questioned the existence of God. To a scientific thinker like me, no answer could withstand a thorough dissection until a very patient woman finally said to me, "You must have faith." With that simple statement, the seed of my recovery was born. Today, as I practice my recovery, cutting back the weeds of alcoholism, slowly I'm letting those early seeds of faith grow and bloom. Each day of recovery, of ardent gardening, brings a higher power of my understanding more fully into my life. My God has always been with me through faith, but it is my responsibility to have the willingness to accept His presence. I ask God to grant me the willingness to do His will. Like I said, I love doing my meetings because it does help people. And that's why I continue to do them. No matter how many people are rude to me in the comments, go ahead and say what you want because I'm still sober and I'm still being kind. And with that, I love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful night. And I need to be getting some sleep, even though I'm probably going to be awake half the night. Oh, you got. I love you guys. Be safe out there. Be kind and remember, you can do it. You just have to want it for the right reasons. Love you guys.